Well, we want to bring to you our first YouTube for this DIS 450 class. Today, one of the things that we're going to introduce to you is a discussion by Norman, which are both going to read an excerpt from some of his writing and see a YouTube. And we are posting both of those to our class folder. Liz?
Okay, so I hope that you enjoy the readings, and as we go through the PowerPoint, we will work a little bit on what is the relationship of this reading to disability and disability studies, but you want to be thinking about that as well. So let's just launch into Norman and get started with talking a little bit about his ideas regarding design, and then think about how they apply to the design of disability services, products, and so forth.
Norman, I think, takes some effort in terms of thinking about and defining design, product design, in terms of really three dimensions. Visceral design, which really refers to the kind of primary impact of its appearance, its emotional response, what it looks like to you when you see it. The second is the behavioral design. Does it do the job that you want it to do? And the third is, what are your thoughts afterwards about using it?
And if you just think about the terms themselves, the example, just for example, visceral design, what does that evoke in you? It's sort of, what do you feel in your viscera or in your inside? So think about the term and each of the terms, and so you really understand what they mean. Visceral design is a powerful term for thinking about one's emotive response to an observation or an experience of design.
So if you would, as an example, when you see something, what does it make you think of? And Norman further goes on to say that we rarely, when we're thinking about design or thinking about products, do we evaluate them on a single dimension, either function or behavior or visceral. Oftentimes we combine two or more of those aspects.
And that has a lot of bearing on the term universal design, because one of the limitations of universal design, as we have discussed in class, is that it really addresses function, and it does not address other issues that make one feel comfortable with or uncomfortable with a particular design or space or so forth.
And as you think about back to our class, from time to time during the semester, well, on a regular basis, we've always talked about aesthetics, the aesthetics, mirroring of aesthetics and function. And Norman also suggests that not only do you think about design of products along those dimensions, but you think about classifying or thinking about users within the dimensions of attractiveness, of visceral, functional and usable, and high-end prestige. So using a product, high-end prestige is an interesting one. It's this whole notion of when you use something or when you're dressed somewhere, when you look somewhere, what kind of impression does that give to other people? And again, even though he's talking about non-disability in this respect, really what we want to try and do in our class is apply these ideas and concepts. So one thinking about in this PowerPoint is, where would you most frequently locate yourself along those three dimensions?
And so, for example, think about why you would choose a certain item to wear, or a certain backpack, or a piece of sports equipment. Why do you select that? Or a pair of running shoes? What is it about an item or part of your house or the way that you've designed your space that you consider important, and on what basis do you make decisions about what to purchase?
And as the PowerPoint suggests, is that Norman, when we're thinking about people along these dimensions, is that on a visceral level, people are strongly influenced or biased towards appearance. In terms of behavioral, people will be strongly influenced towards the functionality or the usability. Does this product do what it wants to, and how does you feel in control of doing it? And finally, the reflective people, who, and of course, who would seldom admit to being one, are heavily biased by brand name and thinking about the issue of logo and the impact of logo and the prestige and value that that product brings to self-image. And again, the issue is, where would you most frequently locate yourself along those dimensions? This brings us, I think, when we combine those dimensions of the individual user as well as the issues around design, brings us first to the point of juncture in terms of thinking about all the products have multiple dimensions in which they can be evaluated, and then we can evaluate the products for different purposes and different uses.
So, for example, a couple things to think about. What would, if you needed a mobility device, and we've talked about this in class, would you prefer to use a Segway? Or would you, whoops, let me get back in the picture here. Or would you prefer to use an Everest and Jennings rehabilitation looking wheelchair? If you, um, if you select clothing, would you prefer something frumpy, or would you prefer something that makes you feel good and look good because you feel that it's stylish?
And well, one of the things that we are suggesting in our writing, we've talked about throughout this class, really is the notion of that you can seek, design, and produce and market products that combine function with appearance and image, and that links that moves towards desires and ultimately towards juncture. So when you begin linking those dimensions and linking the needs of the person or the desires and the wants of the user along, you end up, we think, moving towards juncture.
Yeah, and one of the things people have said to us is, why are you even having this conversation with regard to disability? Isn't it good enough for people who have various limitations just to have products that help them function? Well, I would turn that question back to all of us. Is it good enough just to have products or spaces or services that help us function? And if it's not good enough for all of us, why would it be good enough for somebody who has a different way of moving through space or a different way of seeing, to have a product that is exclusively functional but doesn't fit within the global economy and the typical prestige and status indicators that affect everybody and upon which we all make decisions. Whether we make a decision to ignore them, to buy into them, or to move into some kind of alternative selection that still gives us a different identity. Why shouldn't people who have, why should people with impairments, along with everybody else, have the ability to select a product or a space or a service that contributes to one's identity?
Which brings us really to the activity for this week and kind of we are asking of you to kind of apply the thinking that Norman presents, both in his writing and in the YouTube, as well as some of the thinking conversations we've had in the class. If you look at the PowerPoint that we've posted, beginning at slide 14, we've shown you a number of different products. And those go through slides number 19. So from 14 to 19, there's a variety of different products. For each one of those, what we would like you to do is to apply each of Norman's design characteristics to the products. Which of each pair would you prefer to use and why? And refer back to Norman's thinking about visceral reaction, function, behavior, those kinds of things. And then the third question to answer is, do you think that each of the products creates juncture? Why or why not? So as I said, beginning on with slide 14, there are a variety of different products which we have selected and posted, and we really want to have you think about and apply some of the thinking from Norman as well as some of the conversations in class. As you go through these assignments this week, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to send us an email. Don't hesitate to have raise any questions or ask us about them. When we get in class next week, we will begin the class with having the conversation about this, but we would also like to have you post your responses, your evaluations, or your assessment to the class folder so that we can have a larger conversation, again, about thinking about product design, function, behavior, utilization, all of those kinds of issues.
And when you do this, be honest with yourself and really think about, what would make me select this product or not? What about it? If I see somebody using it, what do I think about the person? What do I think? What would I think about myself if I was using this? How would I feel if I were using this product in public? Would it make me feel good? Would it give me an identity characteristic that I like, that I don't like? Maybe it would embarrass me. Maybe it would embellish me. So those are all the things to be thinking about in addition to looking at the functionality.
Well, it's been good seeing you on YouTube this week. We look forward to seeing you in class next week. Have a good week, and don't hesitate to send us any questions you have.
And enjoy.